sorry. I gotta do that all over again. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Housing and Economic Development meeting. I am James Torrance, Chair of the committee and representative of the 7th Council District. Today, the committee will hear Council Bills 250050, Water Bill Tenant Right to Review, as well as Council Bill 250059, Building Fire-Related Codes, Vacant Building Receivers, Failure to Sell. Present in the committee is Vice Chair Odette Ramos, representative of the 14th District.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Zach Blanchard, council member of the 11th District.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Antonio Glover, councilman of the 13th District.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Jermaine Jones, councilman of the 12th District.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And visiting sponsor, Councilman Paris Gray of the 8th District.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Also present are members of the City Council's Council President's Office. In addition to that, members of the Mayor's Office and a whole host of agency people. With that being said, I will now open the floor up for 25050, Water Bill Tenant Right to Review, for the purpose of reviewing the Department of Public Works to provide a specific person with a copy of a certain water or wastewater bill upon request and submission of specified documents. This bill was introduced on April 7, 2025, sponsored by Councilmember Gray. With that being said, I will, for expediency, not have chair comments and will yield to the sponsor, Councilman Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This legislation is simple, but it responds to a very real and very harmful problem that has persisted for years in Baltimore City. During COVID, I had the privilege of working in Councilman Burnett's office, and what we heard from countless residents facing a same troubling story. And this was tenants asking for a landlord for a copy of their water bill, and far too often that request being denied. In many cases, landlords have collected money from tenants for water bills, inflating the cost far beyond the actual amount due. We have also seen landlords default on their water bills, leaving tenants vulnerable. And in some of the most egregious cases, landlords have even filed applications using their tenants' social security numbers to access support programs like Water for All. This bill is about fairness and transparency. It ensures that tenants can directly request their own bills from the Department of Public Works, either virtually or in person, without having to rely on a landlord's approval. The tenant will have the option of signing their DPW water bill request, providing one of a number of documents that show that they reside at the property. Whether it's a valid ID, utility, a piece of mail, making the threshold low for our tenants in accessing their bills is paramount. Until now, DPW hasn't granted tenants this access, making it nearly impossible for residents to verify what they're being charged. I do want to acknowledge under new leadership at DPW that we received commitments that the updated standard operating procedures reflect the new level of access in part. That's a welcome step, but I thank the department for its partnership. But we also know that the leadership changes, policies shift, and this is why it's crucial that we codify this protection into law to make sure tenants' rights don't rise and fall with administrative changes. Council Bill 250050 does exactly that. It's a safeguard for renters, a measure of accountability for landlords, and a step forward towards greater transparency in one of our most basic utilities, water. I respectfully ask my colleagues for support, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Gray. Now we will move into agency reports. First up is the Baltimore City Information and Technology.
Tyler Chanella, Deputy Director of Government Relations. Mr. Chair, BSIT stands by their report, sir.
Thank you. Department of Finance.
Good evening, Laura Larson, City Budget Director. We stand by our bill response.
Thank you. Law Department.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. The Law Department stands by its report. It notes that actually tenants are already allowed to receive a copy of their water bill directly from DPW. That's been the case for several years. I've looked at the amendments proposed. They're all legally sufficient, but I'll note that while it's okay to provide these documents electronically, usually you can't tell authenticity without having the person there in person. And similarly, while it's okay to provide an electronic copy or an electronic means, the law prevents the city from keeping these things longer than they need them. And so while this law would certainly permit us to collect the things in the amendment, the best practice is to not do so, and is to just verify in person and then give it back so that we don't have a identity theft issue and we're not retaining information about people longer than we need it. It's not illegal, it's just something I wanted to point out. So the law department can approve the bill for form and legal sufficiency as well as the amendments, but again, tenants can already get their water bill directly from DPW. Thanks.
Thank you. Department of Public Works.
Hi, Christine Griffin, Chief of Legislative Affairs, Department of Public Works. We stand by, originally our report, when we turned it in, we said favorable with amendments. We thought that the amendments originally were going to mirror sort of our SOP that we came up with, which you should all have in your packets. It's a new SOP that was based on lots of conversations with city law, Hillary, and the fact that tenants are in fact entitled to a copy of their water bill without showing a lease that proves that they live at that address. Once we had those conversations and worked through it with our customer service department and customer support and services division, we came up with an SOP. And the SOP, if you read just quickly, it's very short. All a tenant would have to do is come in and fill out this I swear or affirm sheet of paper. All it is I live at this property, here's my signature, and I will print my name, and we will give them a bill, and we have this now translated into 7 different languages. So that was all they need to do. If they don't want to sign this or affirm that they are entitled to view or receive the bill this way, then all they would have to do is either show us a copy of the lease just to verify that the address is correct. We don't want our internal folks, our representatives, looking into leases and deciphering whether they are supposed to be paying water at that residence, and we don't want them making legal analysis about the lease. So just to prove that they live there, or if they don't have a copy of a lease, many people are month to month, they would just have to prove something, just show a bank or a credit card or a cable bill or something that shows that they live at that address. So that was all. We thought that would be very straightforward, very easy, and allow any tenant who asks for a water bill to get one from now on, going forward. So I think the amendments that were originally posted on the Legistar kept the lease requirement in. I understand that there are new amendments that have taken the lease requirement out and mirror this, our SOP. So I think we're fine with those amendments. That's great, those amendments. We're working through the electronic requirement. We'll do our best, but that is our, we just found out about that today. So I quickly got with our CSSD team, and there's some, we're struggling with how to do that, just with this form, and I can let them talk more about that. I don't do the technical side of that, but.
So I have a question. Why have a simple form for them attesting to it if, okay, I know the answer to this question. When we attest to things, there's usually a penalty for it if we're saying that we're being not, for nefarious reasons, if we were to make a false statement, right? So if we're making them attest to it, why are we making them attest to it if it has no bearing?
Yeah, it actually does, because under state law, your water bill is not like a parking fine or a fee. It's personal to you because you're consuming a certain quantity of water and then being charged for it. So it's personal financial information, and technically it belongs to the landlord. So the workaround was to make sure that the landlord designated every tenant as their designee by law. So the tenants can see that. what we're trying, I think what DPW is trying to do, and certainly the advice I gave, was to find the simplest way to make sure that the city is given some assurance that the tenant actually lives there. So we're not interested in penalizing the tenant for perjury. What we're interested in doing is making sure we're covering our bases, that the tenant says, you know, I swear that I actually live there, because giving out someone's private financial information to someone else who's not entitled to it has consequences for the city. So we're just looking to find the simplest way for people to say, yes, I live there. I mean, obviously, it would be interesting and challenging if we had a bunch of people coming and asking for water bills to properties they're not tenants of. That doesn't seem to be our issue. Our issue seems to be the opposite, where people show up and they aren't getting a copy of their water bill that they are entitled to, whether or not they pay for the water. They're entitled to it under the law. So it's more of releasing every possible barrier and saying, even if you come with no documents, we'll give you the water bill, but we just want something back for our files that say, yes, I live here. If obviously you could require more, you could require some more proof that they're a tenant all the way up to their lease, or some of these documents in the amendment, you could require that, but we seem to be having the problem where people are asking for the bills and not getting them, versus the other issue where somehow like hundreds of people are coming in and asking for bills they're not entitled to. So we're just trying to solve the actual issue, which is having these people provide the least amount of stuff necessary to just say, yes, I'm the tenant. And for this particular purpose, they're swearing that they're a tenant is enough. So if that's
Okay.
making sense.
Then why not be like a college that does an e-form where in a PDF, you can attach a document to it, you sign it, similar to the money that we spend now for, I don't know, what our DocuSign system that we have, where you could actually send something like that. You DocuSign and you send, and it's secured. It only goes to that person, and it goes directly into our server.
Right, but we don't want to keep it. We don't need anything more than just the assurance that you're the tenant. We're trying not to keep records that have people's
Well, it's not even
information.
records. If it's just like with city schools, they check for the address to see if it is on the letterhead of a Comcast or another, and they see the address in your name.
Right.
That's all they need. They don't need to look at the bill. They don't even look at the rest of it.
Right, and so,
that's also a form that is done through FERPA that is also securely left there.
Right,
So
and
that's what I'm trying to say, that like those documents only retain for 7 years.
Right.
And then with this, you would just only need a verification form that has a picture of an address.
right, and what I'm saying is slightly different. For FERPA and all those things, you're proving the truth of the document you're attaching. That's not needed here. The tenants are already entitled to see their water bill. How we as a government prove that they are actually the tenant at that location is up to us, and it's about covering the liability the state already puts on us for giving out someone's financial information without sufficient protection. Let me say it differently. Giving out someone's financial information to a person not entitled to it is a crime under state law. So what we're trying to do is just get the minimal amount of assurance that the person says, yes, I swear I'm a tenant. And that's just so that were we to ever be in the situation where someone says, you gave away a copy of my financial information to someone else, that would go to our defense. We're not trying to prove the person lives there. We're not trying to get the document be authentic in any way. To your second point, yes, if what we're having at a CAP center is a written piece of paper, yes, you could certainly have them sign the same piece of paper electronically and give it. But under the same state law that makes it a crime to give out the personal financial information to someone who isn't entitled to it, also makes it a crime for the government to keep any personally identifiable documents of someone for longer than needed. And since we don't, like you said, we don't need to know what your Comcast bill is, we don't need to know what shows you ordered, it's like, why are we asking to collect that document if we don't have to? I mean, it's legal to do it if you want to force people to show up at these centers and present certain types of documents and they don't get a bill unless they come with them. If that's what you want the law to be, then certainly they can collect it, but they would be keeping it for a nanosecond and deleting it. So instead of that process, that's the question, what do you want the city to require of these tenants to prove that they live there, when by law, they're entitled to the bill? So how much do you want as your security against the problem we don't seem to be having, which is random people coming and asking for someone else's water bill they're not entitled to? We seem to be having the opposite problem. People are coming and not having the documents people believe they should have. So that's really it. We're not trying to prove the authenticity. It's not like FERPA. We don't really care what they're bringing to show us. It's just like that check that, oh yeah, you live there. So whatever you think is best and legal, then DPW can collect that thing, but they shouldn't be keeping it for longer than it takes to go, yep, you're the tenant. So, I mean, we could do it electronically, but it's just gonna be a process of bringing it in, and unlike keeping it for 7 years, we'd be keeping it for like less than 7 seconds, because we don't want to retain people's personal information in our database. So, I mean, we can do it electronically, we just wouldn't be, we're not keeping it for authenticity purposes, if that's making any sense.
No offense, but this seems like mental gymnastics. So this is what's frustrating, because I get where the councilman's coming from, because I know tenants in my district who've requested at the kiosk across the street a copy of the bill, right, and be denied. So this is not only a training thing, but this is also a cultural thing, right? If staff are not being consistent with what we say in these meetings, then that is why this bill is being created, to create authority for that consistency to take place. I think the bill needs to be voted out because it is important, but I also think that just like if I went to Cap Center and I wanted to apply for the oil fuel fund, I have to provide the same documents anyway, and even if I am the landlord, and those documents are retained too. So I'm just being transparent that's why I say this is mental gymnastics, because the same services that I'm more than likely qualified for will require the same documents that will still need to be recorded at the Cap Center to be transferred to somebody else. So to me, which one is more onerous, right? The one where I'm giving you a copy of my oil bill or my gas and electric bill that requires the bill plus other proof of the lease to say I actually have a right to be there, and then this. Those same documents have to be stored in the same place by the same people with the same retention.
Yeah,
so
but
that's why I'm saying that this is more circular and mental gymnastics, because this isn't rocket science.
Right, but in the fuel fund and all the other cases, you're retaining the documents in order to prove something. That's not the case here. I know it sounds ridiculous, but we did do mental gymnastics in order to get the tenant access to a bill that isn't their financial information. Under the law, it belongs to the landlord. And so we did the mental gymnastics of saying, by law, all landlords designate all tenants as their designee to see this. And so it's up to you all, or DPW, to determine how much do you want to protect yourself against the, non-existent accusation that you're just giving out tenant water bills to people who can't see them. That's not happening. What's happening is people are coming without the right documents. And so you get to decide. This isn't a fuel fund. This isn't anything else where there's some sort of state or federal law that requires it. It's a city code provision where you said all tenants are designees of all landlords by law. So you get to decide how much work you want to prove that. Frankly, I doubt there's going to be any liability, even if you said you don't have to prove it, because we don't seem to be having that problem. So there's no federal or state law involved here other than simply you've said they're the designee. How do you want to prove that? Do you want an electronic signature of swearing, or do you want to collect their personal information? Because the electronic signature of swearing is certainly enough, if that's making sense. But yeah, it is mental gymnastics, because we had to do the mental gymnastics to get to this point.
I have a question for the sponsor related.
Okay. I have one last thing. So legally, the landlord and tenant are entering into a contract, right? That contract will ideally say that you're responsible for the water bill or the electric bill and all those things, and they have to be maintained.
By state law, you must say who pays the water bill.
So
That has to be a term of the lease. Now, they could have an illegal
My
lease.
question is, if it is landlord-tenant law, it is a contract, and we are merely just making sure that it's clear that that contract designates that person have access to it.
No. You, by law, already give all tenants access to all their water bills from city landlords. It's not in the contract. You made that in the law in the city's housing code. So it's up to
So-
you how you would like to prove they're a tenant. It has nothing to do with their lease. And in fact, many landlords would probably be silent in the lease on who gets to see the water bill. And the irony here, of course, too, is you can see the water bill as a tenant even if you don't by the lease pay it. So you just by law said all tenants are designees of all landlords to see the landlord's financial information. It has nothing to do with the lease.
Okay. Councilwoman Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for the sponsor. So I think there's two things here, right? There's the fact that DPW just wasn't doing it for the longest time. And I believe the sponsor is just trying to resolve for that and make sure that it gets done. There is the physical paper thing that you get when you walk into a site and say, can I have my water bill? Paper. There is signing into the portal. That is different. That is a different process than getting the, like I could see as a normal person, I can just log on and I can go onto the website, but I can't see usage, I can't see any of that. I can only see what the last payment was, right? But then you log into the login piece of it, right? And I think correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Sponsor, but my understanding is that we're trying to get this so that the tenant has access to that. Is that right?
No, what we're simply trying to do is, I think the electronic piece is that same form that you're getting in person, you will receive, if you receive electronically, you're just signing it and then sending it back in.
And that will give you the access that you...
And that,
Yeah, I guess we'd have to electronically send them the water bill, it sounds like, back to them, according to the last amendments I saw. But they cannot have access to the portal. The portal is tied to the property owner.
yeah,
The
and I'm
account
sorry, I
holder.
was just talking about the process, like this, the simple process of, I believe, and I'm sorry, and I believe what is causing the confusion may have been when Hillary, when you were talking about all the precautions surrounding it, where it's just, I guess plain and simple, you can either go in person and do it, or that same form you can sign and you can email it back electronically. But you were just saying there are precautions that, or you just want to just state the fine print that in doing so electronically, you are opening yourselves up to I'm trying to figure out what.
And that could be me, I'm sorry if I
Yeah.
haven't been clear. The amendment, as I read it, is saying if you want to, instead of sign the form at the CAP Center saying, yes, I swear I'm a tenant, if you'd like to instead sign it electronically and send that back, that's fine. In both cases, you're getting a copy of the water bill. And in this entire process, the city has already made all tenants designees of their landlords, so they can all see it regardless of regardless of the lease, regardless of everything. And so the problem we seem to be solving for is what do these tenants need to do to prove that they are tenants? Swearing you're a tenant is enough because there isn't a federal or state law here that's at issue. It's your own city housing code. It's section, let me see if I can find it. It's, I had it in the bill report and now I'm losing it, but it's a section of the city's housing code. I believe it's Article 13, Section 7-3, A-1, parentheses 2. So it's your own housing code you're interpreting, and it just says if you're a tenant, you get to see the bill. So the problem has been that how to prove you're a tenant. And from a legal standpoint, because this is literally your own city code, you can be okay with simply saying, I swear I'm a tenant. I mean, we're not asking you to swear because we're going to go, prosecute you for perjury. We're just having that so that we show we did the due diligence to make sure we're not giving out the water bill to someone else. That's the rest of it is, if I muddied the waters, I'm sorry.
So I have just a follow-up to the sponsor. The way I read this, it says that if the, if the person doesn't submit the request form, the person can then submit one of these instead. And if they're going to a CAP center, they might have it. They might definitely sign the form because they're right there. But if they're asking to do this electronically, obviously they could sign the form, take a picture of it and upload it, right? Or they probably have in their records one of these other things that they can just send over. And so it just seems like it's a way to make sure that there's at least something there with the address, right? And not
Correct.
it's just it adds to the options. Am I correct, Mr. Sponsor?
Yes.
Of that? Okay. The only thing that I would probably put in here maybe is just a clarification that we're not keeping the documents, even if it's an email.
Right, and I thought long and hard before I approve reform and legal sufficiency, but the reality is that's already a requirement under state law, since you aren't saying what the city feels is necessary is like, you have to give us all your documents and we are going to check every, month that they're still accurate. I mean, that would be a government purpose where we need to retain it for a long period of time.
Yeah, we're
You're
not
not
doing-
needing that.
We're not doing income
So the
verification.
state law,
We're just saying, okay, Mr. Jones, you live at 123 Main Street, here's a
Exactly.
copy of your bill.
Right, and then because that's all you need to do, if it's submitted electronically, the other state law would already determine the DPW can only keep it for the length of time that it takes for them to verify.
Right, so they have to delete that email.
Yes, so if you want to add that, that would certainly be legal, but you don't have to add it because it's already a
It's
state
already-
law
got it.
requirement. Yeah.
Okay, well, then that's fine.
But what I
that-
would
but-
offer, if I may, Madam
Yeah.
Vice Chair, is we can add that to the SOP. We could just add that DPW.
It's already in the SOP.
Great. It's already in there about keeping the document.
That's what I read in your report.
It
that-
is an SOP, I read it.
Okay, well, see, great. All our bases are covered. I think we're just overcomplicating it.
Okay.
It's in, the SOP says the documents will be returned, and then also so it's already in there. I mean, I think this all obviously comes about, and we had this conversation yesterday regarding starting the conversations around the water accountability piece, is that folks were not getting the water bills. And so it's really important that we make it easy for somebody to get the water bill. So, I mean, I think the form is fine. I do think that in case somebody just can't sign it and then take a picture and upload it back up, that they have something in their file that could, and I think that's all this is asking. And it seemed like Mr. Chair had, confirmed that. So that, I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on what we were asking. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, colleagues?
No, I just want to emphasize that all current DPW bills I posted online in their current billing cycle to DPW's website without accountability from anyone, for anyone's viewing pleasure. You can just go in there and type in the address and the information will pop up already. All you need is the address, which is why the attesting to just the signature just makes sense for all, unless you don't want to do it, and then you have to go through providing one of the following documents. So just wanted to state that just to clarify everything and put a nice little button on it.
Any other comments, questions? That being said, would someone like to move the amendment? Oh, sorry, public testimony. Is there anyone here to provide public testimony on this bill? Going once, going twice for in-person, good. Anyone online? No raised hand function. Perfecto. Would anybody like to move the amendment? Moved by Jones, seconded by Ramos. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Perfect.
Mr. Chair, I just want to verify that was the second
Amendment number 2,
amendment.
yes.
Okay.
We only moved amendment number 2. Amendment number 1, the administration and the sponsor agreed upon. So that's the only amendment that we just voted on, FYI, to make sure that we're clear and for the record.
I'm sorry, so we just voted on the.
Amendment number 2. Amendment number 1 is not germane anymore, as there is agreement within the SOP and the conversations between the
In terms
agencies.
of reporting,
Yes,
we don't need amendment number 1, is what you're saying?
yes.
Got it. Mr. Sponsor? Okay, got it.
Any questions?
Move the bill.
Okay, moved by Ramos, is there a second?
Second.
Perfect, second by Blanchard. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? With that being said, this moves to second reader at our next council meeting on Monday. We will recess this hearing, and next we will go with our next bill. Yay. Next, we will have City Council Bill 250059, Building Fire Code, related codes, vacant building receivers, failure to sell, for the purpose of permitting a vacant building receiver to offer property for sale to the mayor and city council of Baltimore City if the property fails to sell at public auction and provide certain limitations on the sale price. This bill was introduced on April 28th, 2025, sponsored by Councilman Gray. Any comments, Councilman Gray?
I'm going to make this as brief as possible because I want to go home. So this bill's about what happens when a vacant building is supposed to be sold but doesn't find a buyer. So in Baltimore, when a building is abandoned and needs to be taken care of, a receiver, which is a person or group in charge of selling it, is appointed to fix it up and sell it at a public auction. But we know that sometimes no one wants to buy the building at auction. This bill says that if that happens, the receiver is allowed to offer the building for sale to the city government, to the city instead. So the city would then have the option to buy it, but only at the price that covers the receiver's costs for getting the property ready to be sold, running the auction, and transferring ownership. Basically, this bill gives the city a chance to step in and take over abandoned properties that no one else wants, rather than leaving them sitting empty as we see sometimes happening. And this goal is to make sure that vacant buildings don't stay abandoned and become a problem for our community. So hopefully I have your support, committee, and thank you for your time.
And,
Thank-
and Mr. Chair, if I may, just wanted to, on behalf of the administration, thank the sponsor for introducing this bill. This was a bill that we put in last term that didn't make it out before the end of the term. So thank you, Mr. Sponsor, for proactively coming back this term and putting it in. We didn't forget about the bill, but we didn't put it in ourselves. And good sponsor was kind enough to put it in and flag it for us. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. We're going to move on to committee, to agency reports, Department of Real Estate. So the Controller's Office isn't here. Okay. Department of Housing and Economic, DCHD.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jason Wright, representing DHCD. First of all, we wanted to sincerely thank Councilman Gray for the introduction of this bill, and I wanted to second his fantastic and brief summation of its contents. We stand behind our favorable bill report.
I have a question. Why isn't the agency head or deputy commissioner here?
For which bill?
This bill. So I just want to be clear. Let me make the expectation moving forward. When a bill is dealing with the agency and its operations, the deputy or the chief of staff or the agency head needs to be here. Sorry, Jason, but someone from DCHD should be here.
Thank you. Yeah, if you, Mr. Chair, if you can send that over, like formally from the committee, I can certainly ensure that I get that to the city administrator and that we get that out cabinet-wide, that is the expectation for this committee. Thank you.
Department of Finance.
Good evening, Laura Larson, City Budget Director. We stand by our submitted response. We are not in opposition to the bill.
Thank you. Law Department.
Thank you, Chair Torrance. Jeff Hochstetler with the Law Department, and we can approve this bill for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you. Any questions, colleagues? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to move the bill. Oh, public testimony, apologies. Is anyone here to provide public testimony? Ms. Seltzer. Red button.
I know that I've looked at Ashland Auction, and they have like after auction sales, and it allows people to be able to purchase a house without having to give a tremendous amount of money up front. And I don't understand why the city wants to grab all these different properties. Just because it didn't sell at auction doesn't mean it's not a great house necessarily. We need more people to be able to find ways to purchase houses however they can, and not for the city to steal that opportunity away. So, that's it. Now, in terms,
Thank you. Is there any online testimony? If you're interested in testifying online, you can use the raise hand function. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to move the bill.
So move.
Second.
Moved by
Glover.
Glover, second by Ramos. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Perfect. This bill moves on to the next council meeting. Thank you. At that time, we are adjourned.